Cheryl Twomey, hey, look at that. My question is then, can you think of a definitive fork in your road when you zigged instead of zagged? What's the alternate Bill doing now? What kind of life is he living? That's a pretty cool question, and awful, both. I've told the story about the losing the vision and wanting to be a fighter pilot 100 times rather. Many times in the last 35 or 40 years, I've thought, if I hadn't had the vision, I would have been flying jets for the Air Force. I'd be a retired military guy by now, or maybe I'd probably be, actually, who am I kidding? I wouldn't be a retired military guy. I'd be the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. But many times I've come to realize, actually, that I'm probably not temperamentally suited for the military. I would have been good at it, I think, but it's not my true calling. So there's a world, I guess, where if my vision had gotten bad a year later, once I was in, and once they had money in me in terms of my flight training, that whole first future could have happened. There's a whole world where, look, I've been trying to make movies for my entire life, and as I've told you many times before, too, back in 2000, I just driving home as a film editor, I just said, man, you're a guy with a great future behind you. I just missed the boat. So there's a world where I didn't go to my dad's funeral, or my dad didn't decide to be interred at Arlington, and I never had that experience. I never started eject, and I'd be an unknown editor working in show business. There's a world where I could have tried harder at the financing and had a little more confidence in terms of the raising the money, in which case I might be a successful filmmaker by now. I think that's going to happen to me next year, because one thing I found out about raising money is that credibility is everything. It's not how smart your plan is. It's not how good your idea is. It's credibility. Do people trust you? Millionaires and people with $1 billion don't just give away $1 million. That's why they're billionaires. They're billionaires because they expect to make money, and when they're about to write a large check, they want to have some sense that the person's got some credibility. And so I think my film director future, no one's seen it yet, and I know it's bragging until you prove it. But I've run this big bat story so many times, and it's such a damn clever idea, and I've got the whole thing in my head. My hope is that as we do this political battle in 2016, and I don't know what inauguration day is, let's say it's January 20th, and whoever's inaugurated on January 20th, I want to start shooting on January 21st. So start getting the money up for this, but I still have a lot left to prove, and I think I'm going to surprise people. I won't surprise you guys, bless your hearts, but I think I'm going to surprise a lot of people, because I think I can tell some really great stories in a way that, still have a great political message, but nobody knows they're getting it. So there's that. And listen, not to put too fine a point on it, there's a couple of alternative futures where I'm speaking metaphorically now, but I'm under a bridge with a needle in my arm someplace. I've never, ever had a problem with drugs or alcohol, probably because I was too scared of it. But there's a world where, I just gave up. And I don't know. Maybe I'm a manager at Walmart or something. I find that hard to believe. The internet, to say I'm here because of the internet is self-evident. You're watching me on the internet. But this is the great thing about the internet. And it is an infinitely large, infinitely level playing field where talent will out if you have the persistence to stick with it. It was 4 million blogs started in 2003, and who got out of there? Instapundit was already established. Eject made it. Vodka Pundit made it. Scrappleface made it. I work with these two guys every day, or every week anyway. Steve Green and Scott Ott. Rachel Lucas, we miss terribly. Stephen Den Best, I think, is the greatest mind that's not on the board right now. I miss him so very badly. But basically, there were just a handful of blogs that made it, and I made it because I could write. And once I found what I really wanted to write about, once I found something I had to say. So even though I said there's a world maybe where I end up under a bridge with a needle in my arm, that world would have to be a world where there was no internet, because I think sooner or later I would have discovered the power of when I say the internet is free, it means you don't have to have any money to get in the game. And as somebody who dealt with the disappointment of the Air Force thing by going out and making Super 8 movies, there was a group of 6 of us, and we spent every penny we had combined on getting film processed and getting and buying new film loads in little 3-minute cartridges so we could shoot our Super 8 movies. In a world where a digital camera costs $300-400, I think my storytelling skills would have come out one way or another. And I never thought I'd be in politics, but because I just did this afterburner on the moon, and I think the reason I bring up the afterburner about the moon is not because I would have been an astronomy educator, but I had been an astronomy educator, and I guess I'm beginning to realize that's actually what I do best. I can take complex things and make them simple in a way that people understand and make them care about it because I care about it. So I think that probably would have happened one way or another, and I'm very, very grateful that it happened the way it did. I was real conflicted, and somebody said, is the Common Sense Resistance dead? Is Aurora dead? Is Big Bad Problems dead? They're not dead. And what took me 2 years of torment to realize was I couldn't do them both at the same time. I thought I could, but I couldn't. And finally, somewhere back in this summer, it's been a miserable year for me, perfectly honestly. It's been a miserable year. But somewhere in the middle of the summer, I just said, look, man, you've got one big election year coming up, and you're going to focus nothing but the political message, and you're going to go full tilt boogie in a way you never have before. You're going to send links. You're going to get on the Rush Limbaugh show. You're going to get on Hannity. You're going to get on Fox. You're going to get on. Just going to do all this stuff, and you're going to promote this stuff, and you're going to get in there, and you're going to do your job, messaging wise, and hopefully you'll do some new kinds of messaging. And then when this election year is over, and that new person, whoever it is sworn in, then I am switching, I can't say all of my energies, but then I'm going to concentrate on the movies. I'm going to pull every trigger I've got. I'm going to pull every string I've got. And I'm going to try and get these movies made. And people say, are you going to leave us? No, we're not leaving. We're not going to stop ever doing the Stratosphere Lounge. We're not ever going to stop doing the membership stuff. But I think the way to think of it is I'll go from active duty into the reserves as far as the political messaging goes, and get to the real political messaging, which is movies where people get a message they don't even know they're getting. Moving on.